The night Marcus Hale slept in his car outside a grocery store in Cleveland, Ohio, the temperature dropped below freezing. The engine was off to save gas. The windows were fogged with his breath, and the radio hummed softly, cutting in and out between stations. He wrapped his jacket tighter and stared at the cracked steering wheel, trying not to think about how quickly a normal life could disappear. 2 years earlier, he had managed a small logistics office, paid his rent on time, and argued with his sister about whose turn it was to host Thanksgiving. Now his home had 4 wheels and a trunk full of things he didn't know how to let go of. Marcus wasn't lazy and he wasn't careless. He had been sick. A medical bill he didn't understand ballooned overnight. The company downsized. Savings drained. Pride did the rest. He told himself it was temporary, that tomorrow he'd figure something out. Tomorrow kept moving. That night, as he was drifting into an uneasy sleep, someone knocked on his window. He startled, heart racing, and cracked the glass an inch. A woman stood there with a grocery bag and a scarf pulled up to her nose. She looked about his age, early 30s, eyes alert but kind. "Sorry to bother you," she said. "I saw you parked here all evening. Are you okay?" Marcus hesitated. He'd learned that honesty sometimes made people uncomfortable, and discomfort could turn into trouble. "I'm fine," he said. "Just resting." She nodded, not pushing. "I'm Emily. I work late shifts across the street. It's cold. I brought soup and a sandwich. No strings." He considered refusing. He also considered the way his stomach had been empty since morning. He nodded once. "Thank you." She smiled, placed the bag on his hood, and stepped back. "Stay warm," she said, and walked away. Marcus ate slowly, savoring the heat, the salt, the simple miracle of someone seeing him. When he finished, he folded the bag carefully and slept deeper than he had in weeks. The next morning, he woke to sunlight and a plan that felt small but solid. He cleaned up at a gas station, shaved with cold water, and printed resumes at the public library. He applied everywhere. Warehouses, delivery routes, temp agencies. Most places didn't call back, one did. The job was loading trucks at dawn. It paid hourly and asked for more strength than experience. Marcus took it without hesitation. He parked his car behind the warehouse, slept a few hours, and worked until his hands ached. It wasn't glamorous, but it was movement, and movement felt like hope. Weeks passed. He found a cheap room to rent from an older man who didn't ask many questions. Marcus sent half his pay to catch up on debts and saved the rest. He kept his head down. He didn't tell anyone where he'd been. One afternoon, during a delivery to a small cafe near downtown, Marcus saw Emily again. She was sitting by the window, laptop open, coffee untouched. He almost kept walking. Pride flared, then softened. "Emily?" he said. She looked up, surprised, then smiled wide. "Hey, you're the guy from the grocery store." "Marcus," he said. "I wanted to say thanks. You helped me more than you know." She gestured to the chair. "Sit, tell me you're okay." He sat and told her the short version. Job room plan. She listened without interrupting. When he finished, she nodded. "I'm glad," she said. "Really?" They talked about small things, the weather, bad coffee, how Cleveland winters tested character. When he stood to leave, she handed him a card. "If you ever need a reference," she said, "or just someone to talk to." Marcus slipped the card into his pocket like a talisman. Life didn't straighten overnight. There were setbacks. The warehouse cut hours. His car needed repairs he couldn't afford. But he kept going. He took night shifts delivering food, learned routes, memorized shortcuts. He listened to podcasts about logistics, about supply chains, about how businesses worked when they worked well. He remembered who he used to be and decided he could be that person again. Wiser. Months later, a small regional delivery company posted an opening for a route coordinator. Marcus applied, attached Emily's reference, and waited. When the call came, he stepped outside, hands shaking, and answered. The interview was practical and brief. The manager asked about experience. Marcus told the truth, including the parts he once hid. He talked about mistakes and learning, about showing up early and staying late. He talked about responsibility like it mattered because it did. He got the job. The pay wasn't extravagant, but it came with benefits. Health insurance, stability. Marcus moved into a studio apartment with windows that faced a brick wall and let in the morning light. He bought a plant. He called his sister. He hosted Thanksgiving with takeout and gratitude. Years passed. The company grew. Marcus grew with it. He became the person who noticed when someone was struggling, who remembered how invisible it felt to be stuck. He started a small fund at work, quiet, optional, to help employees through emergencies. He volunteered at a shelter on weekends, not as a savior, but as someone who understood the long nights and short mornings. One winter evening, Marcus drove past the same grocery store where his life had pivoted. The parking lot was full, lights bright against the dark. He parked for a moment and watched people come and go, arms full of groceries, worries hidden behind routines. He thought about the bag of soup, the scarf, the choice Emily had made to knock instead of walk by. He hadn't seen her in a while. Life scattered people gently, then suddenly, he wondered where she was, hoped she was well. The following spring, the delivery company partnered with a non-profit to support local food banks. At the launch event, Marcus spoke briefly about logistics and community. When he stepped down from the small stage, a familiar voice called his name. Marcus? He turned. Emily stood there, hair shorter now, a badge clipped to her jacket. She looked surprised and pleased. Emily, he said, smiling. It's good to see you. They laughed, the years folding into a shared memory. She told him she worked with the non-profit now, coordinating outreach. He told her about the job, the apartment, the plant that kept surviving despite his forgetfulness. After the event, they walked outside, the air warm and hopeful. You know, she said, I almost didn't knock that night. I was tired. I told myself someone else would help. I'm glad you didn't listen, Marcus said. She shrugged. Sometimes it's just a small choice. Marcus nodded. He knew now how small choices stacked into lives. On the drive home, he thought about how close he'd come to disappearing into the margins, how easily a person could be reduced to a parked car in a cold night. He thought about the systems that failed him and the people who didn't. He decided to do more than remember. Over the next year, Marcus worked with Emily's nonprofit to create a program that connected temporary jobs with emergency housing. Nothing flashy. Practical steps. Clear rules. Dignity first. They tracked outcomes, adjusted plans, learned from mistakes. The program grew because it worked. At the opening of a new center, Marcus watched a young man accept a set of keys, hands trembling the way his once had. He felt the familiar ache of memory tempered by purpose. He didn't give speeches that day. He helped carry boxes, fixed a jammed door, made sure the coffee was hot. Late that night, back in his apartment, Marcus watered the plant and sat by the window. Kindness without expecting a return. Outside, the city moved on, cars passing, lights changing, people living complicated lives. Marcus turned off the lamp and went to bed, grateful not for the absence of struggle, but for the presence of meaning. And somewhere in a parking lot or a kitchen or a quiet room, someone else was making a small choice that would change a life.